Hey y'all, welcome to the shop. Today I've got to do an oil change on an absolute beast of a motorcycle, the KTM 1290 Super Duke R. And in this video I'm going to show you how to change the oil and filter in your Super Duke. Here are the tools I use to get this job done. It's a simple job, so you don't need much, but you can find a list with links in the description below. First things first, you're going to want to start the engine and let it warm up a bit. You don't have to let it get all the way hot, but letting it warm up a little will help the oil drain. Now that it's warm, we're going to remove this drain plug and this drain plug from the engine using a 13 millimeter. I shouldn't have to tell you this. The exhaust is hot. Don't burn yourself. If I need to tell you that, you maybe shouldn't be changing your oil. Whoever did the oil in this last did not use a torque wrench, because those are way tighter than 20 Newton meters. Just saying. This one's gonna drip some oil on the exhaust. It cools off pretty quick, so it's not gonna smoke up, but it will smoke when you run it again if you don't clean the exhaust off with some degreaser or carb cleaner or something like that. All right, while the engine drains, I'm going to clean the drain plugs and inspect those. They've got screens and magnets. I'll show you those. Okay, got these drain plugs. They are the same, so you don't have to worry about getting those mixed up. But there is an O-ring right here that you want to make sure is not damaged. You want to make sure this screen is not damaged, torn, or filled with glitter. But this one's looking good. And there's an O-ring right here as well. You want to make sure that's pretty good condition. The oil change kit will come with these. I didn't get that this time just because this bike's low mileage and, you know, it just doesn't need replaced every time. Okay, if you see a little bit of metal on these, don't freak out. It's not a huge deal, especially if it's new. This one had a few little flecks of metal in here, look like aluminum, wouldn't stick to a magnet. But if this thing, if the screen is full, or if the magnet's covered, you might have something going on and you either need to look into it or pay somebody to look into it. If this plastic looks like it's starting to degrade, definitely replace these. You do not want this coming apart in your motor. There's a few little flecks of metal, but nothing really to worry about too much. It's a little hard to see on camera, but there's a magnet right there, and you're going to want to clean that on both of them. And make sure it's not got a ton of stuff on it. This one's looking great. So when you're cleaning them, you want to be sure these are not the toughest screen ever. So you want to make sure you don't crush these or damage them anyway. And I've seen a lot of people say to use brake cleaner to clean these off, and they might be okay with that for one or two times. But if you're going to use these long term, I would not use harsh chemicals on them. And that magnet can be kind of a booger to clean. Of course, unless something's going on, it shouldn't have much on it. And these are pretty clean. So what I like to do is use a little compressed air. If you don't have an air compressor, then obviously you can't do that, but just make do. But I mean, if you have to use an aerosol on them, you're much better off using a carb cleaner. But I wouldn't want to do that because it'll damage these O-rings. So just wipe them off real good with a lint-free towel, inspect them, and if you have it, blow the magnet off. If you don't have an air compressor to blow this out, you can do this with a towel. That works okay. All right, let's get these back in the motor and keep going. At the bench, I took a little fresh engine oil and rubbed on this O-ring right here. Gently put that in there so I don't smush my screen like it had been. I like to start these by hand, just in an abundance of caution. These thread into expensive components. It's not worth cross-threading them. Same with this one. You got a little sheen of engine oil there. Pop that guy in. These are the same, like I said, you can't get these mixed up. And these get torqued to 20 Newton meters. I'll put on the screen whatever that is in freedom units. So, got my little torque wrench here set to 20 Newton meters. Whoever did this last, just put them to Guten tight. They definitely did not use a torque wrench because these were way tighter than 20 Newton meters. There's that one. Little sidebar, if you're using a torque wrench, you want to make sure that it's at a 90 so you hold it straight. I like to push in on it. Make sure it's at a 90. It'll be the most accurate. If it gets off angle any, then your torque calculation is different, so keep that in mind. Now we've got the engine oil drained out of the crankcase and the sump. We're going to take this filter cap off and change the filter. Alrighty, now we're going to take the oil filter cap off with an 8mm socket. I'm going to go ahead and not drop them in my drain pan. You don't have to use pliers to pop off the filter cap, but it's just work smarter, not harder sort of thing. When we've got that off, we're going to clean it up and make sure this O-ring is in good condition. This one looks good. Make sure it's not deformed or getting super hard. If it is, it's time to replace it. This one's good. Alright, now there's a couple ways to get this filter out. KTM says to use circlip pliers, so that's what we're going to be doing. But I have in the past made a little, with like a paper clip or small piece of stiff metal, you can make a little hook that's perfect just to get in there and get around it and pull it out. But we'll do what Manuel says this time. You're going to want to grab it on this inside here, pop it out. It drains pretty quick, so whatever's left in there is fine. Just Clean this area here where the O-ring sits. On the street bike, it doesn't get too dirty, but on an adventure bike, you definitely want to make sure that's good and clean. Leaking oil is not cool, not fun, not good for the polar bears. Greta gets mad, yada yada. I suspect if you ride a 1.3 liter motorcycle, you don't give too many shits about that, but anyway, now that we've got the old filter out, go ahead and pop our new one back in. You can find the part numbers and all that good stuff in the description below, but this is the filter that I'm using. You can use a K&N one or high flow or whatever you want to use, but I'm using the OEM one. You'll see it, you'll feel it kind of slot in place, and it'll be recessed down in there just so. Just like on the drain plugs, we're going to put some fresh oil on this O-ring here. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that it's not pinched. You'll feel it kind of go in place, and usually, especially if you have a good O-ring on it, it'll stay in place there. And I just line it up, get my bolt started. Again, I start these by hand, just in an abundance of caution. I'd hate for a half-hour job to become a several-day job just because you're rushing. Ask me how I know. Thread these in until they seat down. These bolts are very small, so you definitely want to use your torque wrench on these. These get torqued to 6 Newton meters, which for the layman is not very tight at all. In other words, they're easy to break, easy to strip the threads out of the hole in the engine case. Just use a torque wrench. Now that I've got the oil drained, before I fill it back up, I don't necessarily have to do it in this order, but I'm gonna clean the exhaust off so it doesn't smoke me out of my shop too bad. As far as I can tell, you're pretty much gonna get oil on the exhaust, so I've just got a little carb cleaner on this towel and just wiping it off. Alright, now that we've got our filter changed and the oil drain, got our drain plugs back in, we're gonna fill her back up. So you do this in 2 stages. First, you put 3 liters in and run it for 30 seconds to a minute, check it for leaks while it's running, and then you'll add the rest. That's another 0.6 liters. So, of course, nothing just works. So usually oil jugs will have like a little sight glass so you can tell how much oil you've poured out. Because you pay a premium for this, you don't get that. So I'm gonna have to measure it in there, measure it out, and dump it in with my ratio right. They do make bigger ones of these. This is just the biggest one that I have. So it's going to be half a liter at a time. Hopefully it's obvious, but you don't want to run the engine with the garage door closed. Well, you might, but I don't. So I'm gonna let the bike down, run it for about 30 seconds or so, a minute, check it for leaks, and then I'll put the rest of the oil in and we'll be done. Now we're at 3.6 liters. So I'm going to stand it upright. Check the oil level. All right, there is where we're at after putting 3.6 liters in it. So I'm going to fill it up to the full line, which will be right here. I'll show you that once I get that done, and I'll tell you how much I ended up putting in this one. There we go, she's full up. Ran the bike after I put the 3.6 in it up to operating temperature, and ended up having to add just a skosh more to get it to the full line. You can see those hash marks there. That top one is the full line. Don't exceed that. I ended up with about 3.85 liters in there. All done. Easy as that. If you found this video helpful, like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our new videos. Now go ride this bad motherfucker.